It was a winter's evening in Stockholm, February 1771. Inside the royal palace, the halls glowed with candlelight, servants hurried with silver trays, and the King of Sweden prepared for dinner. No one could have imagined that what was served that night would make him infamous for centuries. His name was Adolf Frederick, and history remembers him not for wars or great reforms, but for one strange, almost unbelievable truth. He ate himself to death. Adolf Frederick was born in 1710. He became King of Sweden in 1751, though few today recall his reign. And for good reason, he was not a powerful monarch in the traditional sense. Sweden at that time was ruled largely by parliament. The king was more a figurehead than a sovereign. He signed documents, appeared in ceremonies, and occasionally presided over disputes. But real power slipped through his fingers. Some historians describe him as gentle, almost timid. Others call him forgettable. He painted portraits, worked with his hands on little crafts, and preferred quiet indulgences to the heavy burdens of rule. But if there was one passion that carried through his life, it was food. Like many European royals of the 18th century, Adolf Frederick had a taste for the extravagant. Tables groaned under banquets of meat, fish, sweets, and wines. Feasts were not just meals. They were displays of wealth and power. And in Sweden, no dessert symbolized indulgence more than the semla. A semla is a soft wheat bun filled with almond paste and whipped cream, traditionally served in a bowl of hot milk. Today, it's a seasonal treat eaten before Lent, but for Adolf Frederick, it was an obsession. He adored it so much that it would become the final chapter of his story. On February 12th, the king's dinner began as expected. The records say he consumed lobster, caviar, sauerkraut, smoked herring, and washed it all down with champagne. For most men, that would have been a feast fit to last days, but for the king, it was only the beginning. Servants then brought out semla after semla, each bun heavy with cream and almond, floating in warm milk. The king ate one, then another, then another. By the time he stopped, he had consumed 14. What followed was a slow, creeping agony. That night, the king collapsed. Physicians rushed to his chambers, but medicine in the 18th century could do little for what was happening inside his body. Officially, the cause of death was listed as problems with digestion, but history remembers it more bluntly. Adolf Frederick, King of Sweden, had eaten himself to death. The nation reacted with shock but not reverence. Adolf Frederick had never commanded armies or reshaped nations. He left behind no great legacy, no towering achievements. Instead, he became a curiosity, a cautionary tale told with a mixture of disbelief and grim amusement. In Sweden, he is still remembered as the Semla King. His death is repeated every year during the season when semlas are eaten, almost like folklore. For some, it's a joke. For others, it's a reminder that indulgence has a cost and excess carries its own curse. But perhaps there is something darker beneath the laughter. Because in the end, what made Adolf Frederick tragic was not merely how he died, but how he was remembered. Kings often crave immortality through monuments, conquests, or dynasties. But this king's immortality came through gluttony, an eternal footnote of ridicule. More than 250 years later, his story still lingers. It lives in Swedish kitchens when semlas are served. It lives in history books alongside plagues, wars, and revolutions. And it carries a truth as bitter as it is strange, that even kings, surrounded by golden power, are not spared the consequences of their appetites. The meal that made him a legend was also the meal that ended him. And so, in the cold winter of 1771, Adolf Frederick found a crown heavier than he could bear. Not of gold, but of cream, sugar, and excess. The dead don't whisper, they watch.